as he's ready to fire on the first one. Bases loaded. Young swings, line drive. That is down and to the wall. Cruz is in. Pierce is in. Hardy around third. He's going to try to score. And safe. The Orioles have the lead. The legend of Delman Young in the postseason continues.
Guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, we will be talking about the rise and the downfall of the current Baltimore Orioles. Now, if you know me in real life, then you know I am a huge fan of the Orioles. I've gone to a lot of games over the past couple of years as they have started to do well again. Now, that clip that I just showed you was from 2014, and that is from the ALDS in those playoffs. And if you are an Orioles fan, or even just a baseball fan in general, you know what happened in that clip. The Orioles that season went on to sweep actually 3 Cy Young winners from the Detroit Tigers. And that clip actually is the most recent Orioles playoff win. And then unfortunately for them, they would end up losing to the Kansas City Royals in the ALCS.
Router to third, fair ball. Moustakas across. And 29 years of frustration have ended. The Royals are going to the World Series.
You know, as a 12-year-old kid watching that back then, that was pretty heartbreaking to see. But 2 years later, actually, they would get another opportunity in 2016 where they actually made the playoffs as a wild card. And that season, they kept most of the same roster from 2014, but not all of them. But we all know what happened there. Just roll the clip.
Even though they've turned a lot of double plays. Oh, there's a drive to deep left field, and the ball game is over.
And then that sent them down a terrible path, only winning 75 games in 2017. And then 2018, they only won 47 games, had 115 losses. And then 2019, they were back to 54 games and 108 losses. And then this was the COVID year, and they won 25 games, but still not a great record. And then 2021, they won 52 games. And then now here in 2022, wait, 83 games they won? What happened between 2021 and 2022 where they won 83 games after winning 50-something? What shifted in this culture that they now had a winning record for the first time since 2016? What kind of players do they have? What kind of farm system did they have? What kind of pitching did they have? Well, you're about to find out, so stay tuned. You know, after nearly a decade of losing seasons, the Orioles entered 2022 with very low expectations. Most fans anticipated another rebuilding year, but that was not what happened, and the team finally began promoting its top prospects. In May 2022, the Orioles decided to call up #1 prospect and #1 pick in the 2019 MLB draft, Adley Rutschman. Adley made his debut on May 21st, 2022, where he did this.
Rutschman into right field, down the line, a fair ball. Adley will turn first, head for second. He's going to turn second, go for third. Rutschman into third base, standing.
Adley immediately showed why he was considered one of the cornerstones of Baltimore's future. In over 113 games in 2022, Adley slashed .254, .362, and .445 with 13 home runs and 45 RBIs. More importantly, he posted a 5.2 WAR, making him one of the most valuable catchers in all of baseball. And all of this as a rookie. Before Mike Elias called Adley Rutschman up, they were struggling at a meager 16-24 record. But then after his debut, the team went 67-55, and that showed his presence coincided with a dramatic shift in team performance. The pitching staff ERA dropped nearly half a run, demonstrating the tangible impact of his leadership behind the plate. Now, back then, including myself, everybody thought that Adley was going to be the face of the franchise, and to an extent that is true, but there was somebody else looming in the shadows by the name of Gunnar Henderson. So Gunnar was caught up in late August 2022, and he posted a 788 OPS in his first 34 games, and he showed flashes of his power and speed that made him one of the top prospects in baseball. The Orioles that night played against the Cleveland Guardians, where Gunnar Henderson did this.
On a 2-2, Henderson drills one, right center field and deep, and gone! Oh my goodness! His first Major League hit is his first Major League home run. The helmet is long gone, as is the ball. Let the hair flow, Gunnar Henderson. You're a big leaguer, and your first hit is sitting in right center field.
The offense also saw contributions from players outside of those top prospects. Cedric Mullins, for instance, slashed .291, .355, and .470, hitting 30 stolen bases and solidifying his role as a top-of-the-order catalyst, as well as veteran leadership from players like Anthony Santander and Ryan Mountcastle to help blend experience with the energy of the rookies. Another guy you can't forget about in this situation is Austin Hayes. He had been there through all the dark ages of the Orioles, and now he's finally seeing them win. The farm system for the Orioles was also ranked #1 in all of baseball, with players like Jackson Holliday, Colton Cowser, Dylan Beavers, Jordan Westbrook, and Samuel Basai were all top-tier prospects making noise in the minor leagues. By the end of the season that year, they finished 83-79, and they barely missed the playoffs, but they proved that the rebuild was finally coming to an end. And the next year, 2023, it looked like the restart of a dynasty in the making. So no one knew what 2023 would look like for the Baltimore Orioles. There was a lot of talks in the offseason about signing a pitcher, signing a bat, and the Orioles didn't do much that offseason, so there were a lot of questions going into the 2023 season. A lot of the questions were how was the starting pitching going to do? What was Adley and Gunnar's development going to look like? When was Westbrook coming back up? So the Orioles went into the 2023 season and they did this.
Mullins into center field. It should do it. Margot going back. It does not matter. Adley Rutschman will score. And the Orioles, who clinched a postseason berth just a few minutes ago, seal their fate with a walk-off win. A clincher, a walk-off. Control of the American League East. Now that's not bad for a Sunday. Mike Elias, Brandon Hyde, and this organization, they preach patience. We preach patience. You all were patient. You tuned in night after night, hoping for a moment like this. The 1-1 to Story is grounded to third. Ramon Urias from third. The Orioles have done it! Go crazy, Baltimore! You are the new champions of the American League East.
2023 was the Orioles' breakout year, and they shocked the baseball world, winning 101 games and their first AL East title since 2014. The Orioles scored 807 runs, which was 5th in the MLB. Their team ERA was 3.89, which was 7th in MLB. Their bullpen ERA was 3.55, and in one-run games, they went 30-16. Adley Rutschman that season slashed .277, .374, and .462 with 20 home runs, 60 RBIs, and a 5.8 WAR. As well as Gunnar Henderson slashed .255, .322, and .466 with 28 home runs, 82 RBIs, and a 4.7 WAR, taking home AL Rookie of the Year. So they actually had the American League's best record, and they automatically got a bid to the ALDS, where unfortunately for them, this happened.
And the Texas Rangers are going to the championship series.
So it was clear in the playoffs in that Texas Rangers series that the offense was not an issue. However, the pitching definitely was. From the starters to the bullpen, they really needed a bona fide superstar starter who will go out there and give you 6 or 7 innings each night. And that's exactly what they did.
Corbin Burns, who goes to Baltimore as he enters what is his walk year. He is a free agent at the end of the 2024 campaign. Going to Milwaukee. DL Hall, a former #1 draft pick, a reliever, but does have starter experience. Infielder Joey Ortiz, a top 100 prospect and the 34th overall pick in the upcoming 2024 MLB draft. Let's bring in one of our insiders, John Heyman, who joins us now here as we cover this breaking news. John, how did this deal come together?
Well, the Orioles have been looking for a top pitcher all winter. We knew they've been talking to Dylan Cease. Cease still with the White Sox. Bieber still with the Guardians. But they do land Corbin Burns.
So now all of a sudden, the 2024 Baltimore Orioles get a Cy Young winning pitcher in Corbin Burns. And now this is your starting rotation for the 2024 season. Not to mention they had Kyle Bradish, who broke out in 2023 and had the second lowest ERA in all of baseball, only next to Garrett Cole. And at that time, you had year 3 of Adley Rutschman, you had year 3 of Gunnar Henderson, you have year 2 of Jordan Westbrook, you had guys like Colton Cowser, you still had Cedric Mullins, and frankly, they were coming out and destroying teams for the first half of 2024. The starting pitching was also fantastic as well. You had Corbin Burnes, who was obviously your main guy, and then you went into Kyle Bradish, like I said, who was a breakout star in 2023, and then young and up-and-coming Grayson Rodriguez, which we have not mentioned yet in this video. And with those three, frankly, they were just going out and dominating teams on both sides of the ball. You had a great offense, you had great pitching, and they had stellar defense. Now, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. So Kyle Bradish ended up suffering a pretty major arm injury, and then Grayson Rodriguez was really on and off the field as well. And the only pitcher from that trio who was consistently starting was Corbin Burnes. The Orioles, unfortunately, also made the very detrimental move in signing closer Craig Kimbrell in absence of their main closer Felix Bautista, who suffered a season-ending arm injury. This season, the Orioles also caught up #1 prospect in all of baseball by the name of Jackson Holliday. Now, at the time, this may have not been the right move, as he struggled mightily when he first got caught up to the Orioles in 2024. The kid had amazing numbers down in the minor leagues, but as we know, that does not always translate to the big league level. However, he has turned it around a lot though, so I expect next year Jackson Holliday to be a all-star in 2026. Book it, Jackson Holliday all-star 2026. So for the first half of 2024, you could make the argument that the Orioles were the most complete team in baseball at the time. And then the second half of 2024 came, where they absolutely fell off a freaking cliff. Now, you still had your star guys like Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman doing their thing, and they were playing great baseball along with other guys like Jordan Westbrook. They would, however, end up losing the AL East to the New York Yankees, who were riding high off the players of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. But these Orioles still managed to secure a wild card spot.
There we go. And then the playoff, let's go!
Now, unfortunately for these 2024 Orioles, the wild card would be as far as they get, as they would end up losing to the Kansas City Royals 2-0 in the first round.
The pitch. He struck him out. And the Kansas City Royals move on to the division series.
Truly another heartbreaking year for the Orioles. Now, they entered the 2024/2025 offseason with a lot of question marks. They ended up losing star players in Corbin Burnes to the Arizona Diamondbacks and Anthony Santander to the Toronto Blue Jays. And people were very optimistic for 2025, but as we know now, it has not been the season that fans hoped for. Frankly, they only won 6 games from a 30-game stretch in May, which is absolutely abysmal. And then this happens to them.
First of all, I want to address the dismissal of Brandon Hyde from Saturday, a very difficult decision about a very good man. This is a team that we feel has been collectively and individually to varying degrees underperforming its talent level.
Now, fast forward to the current day. It is currently August 21st, 2025, and there have been some good things the Orioles have done over the past month. For example, they caught up #1 and #2 prospects Samuel Basallo and Dylan Beavers from AAA Norfolk. While they definitely have provided a very slight, brief spark in the offense over these past couple of days, they still have a lot of concerns to address over the 2025 MLB offseason. So, some of the main concerns that I have for this offseason is that what are they going to do with Ryan Mountcastle? I mean, you still have guys like Adley and Basallo who can maybe transition to first base. Also, what are they going to do with a guy like Tyler O'Neill, who they signed to a 3-year contract, and frankly, he just cannot stay on the baseball field. Same thing with Grayson Rodriguez. He's always been off the field, and he's done for the year this year, as well as Felix Bautista recently had a successful surgery on his right arm, so who knows what's going to happen with him. Anyway, that is going to conclude today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this little segment on the Orioles. I've loved this team since I was like a little kid, and I really want them to win a World Series really bad in my lifetime. So, hope you all have a great rest of your day, and see ya.